Hi, I'm Jonathan, and today on Hanging Out with the Guides, we have Amanda Laden. Amanda, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
My pleasure. Amanda is a strategist, coach, consultant, speaker, and change agent. With over 15 years of global business experience, she is an expert at empowering leaders to engage their workforces by using positive psychology, leveraging the unique DNA of their teams, and creating cohesive and inclusive cultures. In addition, she works with entrepreneurs to help them create blueprints for success. She holds her master's in business administration, as well as strategic intervention coach training from the Robbins Madonnas Training Center. So, Amanda, tell me about who you are and what you believe your role is in this life. When you leave this world, what impact do you want to have left?
So I guess we're starting out with a not so easy question. No, I believe this is a tough question because it's really hard to answer, and I think sometimes my answer shifts depending upon the day. But I think the common thread is that I believe that I'm a leader and I'm here to inspire others, to let people know that they have a choice with how they lead their lives and what they create and how they show up every day. And I know it's going to sound cliche, but I want to have made a difference. You know, I want to have made my mark and let people know that through my experiences and my stories that I have lessons that I learned, and they can take those too and apply those to their daily lives. And I guess I really want to have helped as many people as possible to tap into their inner potential, to live a fulfilled life, to create and grow socially conscious organizations, and just to live a life of meaning, and that's on their own terms, and that's something different for everybody. So, yeah, that's really it, I think.
That sounds like you have an answer to a complicated question.
Yeah.
And it's a good one too. Good purpose. So how did you get to where you are today? Tell me some of the key parts of your story that might allow people, wherever they are in their own paths, to relate to you and the path you traveled to where you are now.
Okay. So I have a firm belief that my path has kind of been anything but ordinary. I didn't necessarily follow what others expected me to do. I grew up in the Midwest, a product of a broken home. I know a lot of us, whoever's watching, probably can understand that as well. So my mom left when I was 2.5, and I grew up with an abusive father and stepmother, and I knew from a really young age that I needed to get out, like get out as far away as I possibly could. And so, my family is pretty fractured. And I did the traditional things. I went on to college, I went on to grad school, and then I kind of woke up and thought, what next? I have no idea who I am. And it wasn't those thoughts at that time, but I still felt that there was a desire in me to experience something more. And so the best way I describe it is that I was kind of running. And really I was running from myself and my background and my history, and I wasn't able to combine those things. And so I moved to Europe. I left the United States and I moved to Europe on a whim. No job, no prospect of a job. And I worked in an industry where I was able to travel, and I started to experience life through other people's eyes. And part of that gave me this idea that, okay, I experienced some terrible things growing up, but life is not that bad, and what can I take from each of their perspectives to understand where I am today? So, for many, many years, I believed that I had nothing to give anybody. I had nothing inside me that was worth anything. I say sometimes, even my own mother rejected me, so why would anybody else want to be in my presence, and what did I have to give? But now I know that through my story and my experiences, I think now to date I've been to 45 or 47 countries and have gained a different and unique perspective. And so I think that through my stories and my journey, people can relate. It may not be the exact same thing, but there's probably something else in there that they can understand. And then, I also go in and help companies. So on the corporate side, when I returned back to America, I looked at the corporate system and realized there were so many things that were broken in terms of how we treat our people, what values we instill in them, how we look at culture. And so I realized that I could use my experience in leadership in other cultures to bring back to the United States and help people grow more effective, efficient organizations. So that's a little bit of my story. There's a lot more I could tell you, but that's some of the path to, where I am today.
It's always very powerful to be able to recognize that our perspective isn't the only one when we start encountering other perspectives in the world and other experiences of life, through different lenses, and then we look back at our own and we realize that there are other possibilities, and that's so empowering to realize there are other possibilities, and then we can actually choose for ourselves what our experience of life is like, what our perspective is like, as opposed to feeling trapped in the one that we've always known.
Yeah, and I think for a while I was really hard on myself because I didn't follow this traditional path. I didn't do the typical Midwestern thing of getting married in my early 20s, settling down, having kids, having a husband, staying in Iowa, having this white picket fence, and I went off to explore. And for a long time it was like I was grappling with, was this the right choice, was it not? And now I know that it was my path, and it was the path that I was supposed to take, and I was supposed to be able to shift my perspective, because if not, I wouldn't have grown as a human.
And you wouldn't be sharing the lessons that you are with the companies that you are and the individuals that you are, because you wouldn't have those lessons to share. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's always amazing to see how our pasts shape us, but not in the way that people often expect. That we don't have to become our past. We don't have to be a reaction to our past. We can actually be a response to our past, and that it's because of what we've learned from them that we end up having the particular messages that we can share with the world, that we can become an embodiment of something that is a response, is like the positive version of the past that we experience.
Yeah, exactly. And I've also learned that nothing's absolute, right? So I can always reinvent myself and tell myself a new story. The story doesn't have to stick with me.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing, hearing other people's stories and realizing that we can choose our own story. There are all these possible stories out there for us to choose. We can choose whatever we want. We don't have to have the world write it for us, as based on how it started.
Absolutely.
So with all of these important lessons, what are some of the most important lessons you've learned on your journey, and who have been some of your greatest teachers?
So obviously one we've just kind of been discussing, which is the path doesn't always have to be straight. And it's okay to not follow the crowd. So it's okay to put your head above the parapet and be your own person and figure it out in your own way. That's been a really big one. And there's the other one is to never give up. I know that when we're children, we always have these dreams of things that we want to be, and we lose them somewhere along the way. And I think I still believe in my dreams, and I still believe in other people's, and I think that they can happen. They may just have a different iteration. Gratitude, of course, is a big one. I didn't learn gratitude for a very long time, and it's still something that I tell myself I have to practice daily to be where I am, and to really show grace and thanks for everything that I have in my life. We all go through this, so even when I'm down here, the gratitude is one of the most important pieces. And in terms of teachers, this is going to sound funny, but one of my greatest teachers was my dog Dexter. He came into my life at a time where, maybe I shouldn't have taken on any responsibility, and I did. And what he taught me was how to love, how to be responsible, how to open my heart, and how to learn to embrace myself and where I was and meet myself where I am, because if you've ever been around a dog, that's what they do. And they love constantly no matter what gets thrown their way. And then, I thank him for a lot of things. It sounds funny, but he taught me so many life lessons. And then, I think I've had guides or spiritual guides along the way that have come in many forms. One, I happened to be on a trip on a charity cycle ride across the north of Vietnam, And I encountered a lot of little children who'd never seen anybody that looked like me before. And just seeing things through their eyes is kind of a guide of, shifting perspective. And so in that way, they were a guide. And then I have some others that I've, read through books or found online, people such as Wayne Dyer, Carolyn Mace, Paulo Coelho, some of the names that we all know and probably follow. So yeah, I think those people have been, whether or not they know it, people and animals, have been instrumental in where I am today.
It's always interesting that there are these like sort of preconceptions that teachers have to be certain things, and ultimately when we're really paying attention, then we realize that we're learning from everyone and everything, and it's the things that it's the it's animals, it's nature, it's whatever, it's things around us that we don't even realize that was a greater teacher than anything else for us, and that's where we've learned some of our most powerful lessons.
Yeah, it's fun. My dog Dexter actually passed away last August. So I wrote 13, like it just kind of came to me like almost divine inspiration. He was almost 13, so I wrote 13 lessons for 13 years of his life. And literally there are these downloads. I would wake up every morning not knowing what I was going to write. And every day just something came to me that I felt like, well, I need to share this with somebody. And if it resonates with somebody out there, dog lover or not, then I think it's an important thing to tell people. So yeah, it's funny how things come to you and things you don't even realize, as you're going through your memory bank of things that happen.
That sounds like a really good idea for a book.
Yeah, it's kind of in progress. People keep telling me that it needs to be a book, and I have many more lessons that he taught me and many more things. He went, when I lived in Europe, he went everywhere with me. So to the bank, to the pub, on the bus, on the train, everywhere. So people knew him because he was always with me, and to work, so yeah, he was very important. He touched a lot of people's lives, which is really, really funny. You think of human beings doing that, and then when he passed away, I kind of threw something out on my Facebook saying, if you have a funny Dexter story, let me know. And hordes of people came out to share a story of something they remember about this animal. He was truly a special creature on this planet, for sure.
It's interesting the forms that teachers can take.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with all of these powerful lessons, what have you concluded is the purpose of life? Why are we here?
Ooh, that's a really tough question. I think to fulfill our divine potential, each of our own potential, to never stop growing, to never stop asking why, and to always ask, what more can I do? So I think we're here to dig into our souls and be the best of who we can imagine we can be and push beyond that, and to help others, uplift humanity, animals, nature, and all living kind, really. If not, I don't see a purpose. So, yeah.
That seems like a pretty good purpose.
Yeah.
So on a sort of, depending on how you look at it, related note, tell me about God. Who or what is God, and what is our relation to such a source or being, or however you think of this?
Mm-hmm. For me, it's more of source in the universe, not really the label God. I know everybody has their own belief around that. So I do believe that we're here to co-create with that source or with the universe, and that we should, or I am always on a quest to be closer to source and to listen. We were just talking about to listen to those messages that come down, and how you're supposed to shift your path according to what you are creating together. And just to take action, and to live a life of meaning that's guided by source. You can't expect that just because you pray or you show gratitude or you meditate or you try to find a way to connect with God or the source that things will happen. It's also up to you. to take the action and to create the life that you're meant to lead.
I like it. I like the answer. That's good.
Thanks.
So now to sort of put some of these other things together and maybe add some new things, depending on how you're looking at this, how does the universe work? What are the most fundamental rules or laws by which everything in the world operates?
You know, I wish I knew the ultimate answer to this question. It's something I think I'm still figuring out and still asking all the time, and I learn new things every day about it. You know, I'm sure you know who Abraham Hicks is. It's probably actually behind me somewhere. You know, the idea of ask and it is given. But I also believe that there's, you know, back to gratitude, there's an element of gratitude that you have to have for the universe to operate. And so it's that law of reciprocity or law of attraction, whatever you want to call that. And I do buy into the idea of quantum physics, and none of which I can rationally explain because I'm not a scientist and I don't understand it all. But I know that all things are energy, and that our thoughts are so powerful, and that whatever we think comes back to us in a way. So if we're showing gratitude, it will come back to us in another way. It may not be the exact form we want or we had hoped for, but if we're open and aware, then we can see it in motion. And it happens all the time in very simple ways. So that's kind of, you know, I'm sure as I go on my journey, ask me in 6 months, I'll have a different answer for that question.
Well, life is a continual unfolding of lessons. So obviously it would make sense if we're evolving in our understanding of things as we go.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So at this point in your journey, what do you believe is the most important thing for every person to know? If you could tell every human being on the planet one thing, what would it be?
One thing. I would say right now where I am, to live truly, love openly, and never betray yourself.
That's a very succinct and powerful message. That's good.
Thank you.
I like it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for your time and for sharing your stories and lessons with me today.
You're welcome. Hopefully it'll resonate with someone out there. And yeah, I'm honored to be able to take the time to speak to you.
It was my pleasure, and I'm sure it will resonate with many people out there.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to all who are watching. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye-bye.